right, here we go. Welcome to the show, folks. What's this? How many salutes have you earned tonight? Well, you do get a double salute. Welcome to the Weekly Spinner Rack. I'm your host, Chris. This is a show where we are going to talk live about the comic book news of the week and review some of the comic books that came out this week. Some good, some pretty darn disappointing, in my opinion. And we're going to have a live chat that helps us with the jokey jokes or just stuff that I miss. I'm really bad at names. Anybody that's watched this show for any amount of time, you know, they both work, knows that I'm really bad at remembering names. I got my caffeine so that I can try to think as fast as possible. Kohio nomimasho. Kohio nomimasho. There you go. Some people hate that, some love it. For those that hate it, I'll make it up to you with a new double salute. We've got a good show tonight, though, folks. It'll be fun. Look at this. Wow, starting off with a super chat. I am blessed. Blasting with some sugar-free Mountain Dew Baja Blast. That's what I will put it towards. More caffeine. Less water in life, more caffeine. That's what I always say. If you hate the coffee song, I will come and find you. Okay, so there's some support. Tell you what, without really anything that I feel the need to talk about ahead of time, we can get into the news, then we'll do reviews, and then I'll probably noodle around with some inking and just talk about other stuff that's been going on. We'll maybe talk about the big game or the ads that were on it, things like that. So, yeah, I think it's time to get started with news.
We're sitting on top of the story of the century here.
Put an ad on the front page. Cash money for a picture of Spider-Man. He doesn't want to be famous, and I'll make him infamous.
Hi, guys. This is April O'Neil from Channel 6 News, and I am here in beautiful New York City.
Look at me. Shh. There's a bear sleeping, and that bear is named DSTLRY. Thank you for the sympathy. Yup, my New England Patriots did not put up much at all of an offense, so the Seahawks definitely earned that win. That's okay. Let's see. What else did I have? Oh, yeah, let me just start a banner so that you know what's coming up. Yeah, that way you'll know. Did he already talk about this? Yeah, just check the banner. The little ticker that I make every week. All right. And with that said, we'll get past this amazing thumbnail. Just, you know, YouTube algorithm exploding. Going, this is what people want. Sleeping bears. More of this. And I'll pivot from cute bears to cute dogs. Oh, no, my wife is rubbing it in. Well, she's allowed to. She's from here. Let's see. Puppy Bowl had a puppy from Syracuse. That's where Steve is from. So very nice. I'm glad you got the representation. Now I'm going to talk about some cute puppy stuff. This is a win. This is a nice place to start. We'll start with some good news. Wasn't that a brief show during the pandemic? Some good news? Yeah. That was that guy, John Krasinski. I remember that. And then he sold it like almost right away. But that was a fun show. All right. So DC Comics has teamed up with Guide Dogs of America, sort of a cross promotion, obviously, but they're going to be fostering 5 dogs that will be trained as professional guides. That's nice. DC is specifically paying for the training of 5 golden Labrador puppies to act as service animals. They are given free of charge to people in need. Their clients will range from visually impaired people to veterans, children with autism. There's a wide range of people that benefit from having a guide dog. They have to be very, very carefully trained. It's expensive. Anyway, the guide dogs will apparently make an appearance at the San Diego Comic-Con this year, but I'm adding here, they will be being trained, keep in mind. So be sure to ask before you pet them. You really shouldn't interrupt a guide dog, especially when it's being trained. But they are adorable, so I understand the impulse 100%. All 5 are named after characters in last year's Superman movie and this year's Supergirl movie. So, who do we have? Obviously, you have all seen Crypto now. There's also Clark. He's a cutie. We've got Lois. Look at her. Isn't that a face you just want to squish? Kara. She has some beautiful golden colors around her face. And there's Lobo, the rascal of the group. I think they are all so adorable. I love dogs. I love when I've seen well-trained, service animals. It's a beautiful thing. And my sister would probably love to be chiming in right now, but I know for a fact, because I just talked to her, she's driving home from visiting my dad. So she is probably just like gripping the steering wheel, like crushing it, wanting to talk about dogs. Sorry, Jean. You're going to have to just listen to your dopey brother talk about dogs. Anyway, they all look cute. Good for DC for putting some money behind a nice little initiative like this. And, it kind of gets the word out. So I'm sure that in turn, the organization will probably get some more donations. We're probably not far from EJ Sue's suggestion. I thought you were going to say DC will train 5 dogs to draw comic books. DC has a hard line against AI. Not so against the idea of training animals to draw for them. No, they would never allow that because you cannot copyright artwork created by anything other than a human being, and that includes animals. Because I think that there was a case where a monkey painted something and it was not allowed to be protected in any way. It was public domain. So yeah, that's been decided by the courts. All right. Just wanted to start with something kind of cute. Hey, who knows? That's a great idea. Ace the Bat Hound. Maybe this initiative does well and DC decides to sponsor some more. We'll see. Oh, that's really nice to hear, John. All right. Moving over to the just absolutely vicious world of commercial products. What do we have here? AMC Theaters is partnering with DC to celebrate it's their 90th anniversary, which is pretty impressive. And they're doing that with a series of popcorn buckets. And if any of you have been to any movie theater in the last, I'll say 5 to 10 years, you know that those counters are just cluttered with novelty popcorn buckets. And I will say 9 out of 10 of them are absolute cheap looking garbage that I would never want near me. And then 1 in 10, I'm like, ooh, I kind of like that idea. It's how much? I don't like it that much. But this is still kind of a fun way to just put comics out there to the mainstream public. There are 6 tins. They each look like a replica of a famous DC issue. And it comes with a lanyard and a badge. I don't know where you'd wear that. Maybe at a Comic-Con. Put your Comic-Con badge on one side and on the other is this sort of card. Maybe. I'm brainstorming here. The lineup includes, and I think this makes sense, Action Comics #1, Superman's first appearance. Superman #1, Man of Steel's first self-titled series. Batman #1. That was just, an early Batman book. He obviously debuted in Detective Comics #27. They didn't include that. Wonder Woman #103. Justice League #102. And Showcase #4, which is both the first appearance of the Silver Age Flash and generally considered the beginning of the Silver Age of comics, generally. I think most people point to that. Some people say, no, it's, Fantastic Four #1 over at Marvel. I get that argument, but I think that the Silver Age represents sort of a return to superheroes, and Flash being a new iteration of an existing hero. I think that's a pretty clear demarcation for the Silver Age. Anyway, if you go to one of these places and you're willing to spend $21.95, you can get this tin. It looks like a comic book. It holds 85 ounces of popcorn, which at first sounds like a lot, but I will let you know, I looked it up. A regular large size bucket of popcorn holds between 140 to 170 ounces, depending on how nice the employees are to you. That's the one thing. Every time I see one of these sort of novelty popcorn buckets that I'm like, all right, like, you know, the Dune sandworm looks kind of cool. I don't love the price. How much does it hold? Oh, not as much? Forget it. I don't need it. I can at least get a full thing of popcorn, right? But anytime I go to a superhero movie or a big budget, you know, Avatar type of movie, there's always at least a couple nerds in there that have, I'm a nerd too, I'm not saying that disparagingly, but they'll have like the new popcorn bucket still wrapped in the plastic. They won't put the popcorn in it. You don't want to damage it. Has the modern age of comics, it probably deserves to be broken up at some point. I think Bronze Age used to be pretty informal, but has kind of codified itself to be, you know, 70s and 80s books at this point. And then the modern age is more, you know, the 90s when Image Comics started. At the same time, that represents over 30 years. So like maybe at some point we need something that's more recent, but I think you kind of end up naming these eras as they end, not as they begin. You know, you're sort of like, wait, I can see a demarcation between things. And that's how, because like I say, it used to just be golden, silver, and modern. I remember growing up, but people do say the Bronze Age now, and it means something, but that's in retrospect, like it, you know what I'm saying? So it has to be sort of the end of an era rather than like, this is clearly the beginning of something new. Have I ever bought one of these like novelty tins? I think I bought one. I bought the Bat Signal, which I didn't even put popcorn in. So I'm a hypocrite, but I got the Bat Signal. It's a mini bat signal. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. None of them are absolutely cool. I ask the employees every once in a while, I'm like, does any of these tchotchkes sell? Because they've also got like, you know, figurine potato chip clips and pins and things like that. I'm like, does any of this stuff sell? And they're like, nah, not really. Not really. Here's an interesting one. Let me lay it out for you. It's about Kevin Maguire, an artist I very much enjoy and appreciate. But Kevin Maguire has hinted that he might be done drawing covers at DC Comics. And, you know, he's a pretty iconic artist, I think, especially for Justice League, but he's done a lot of great things for them over the years. He posted this cover to the right, this Godzilla Kong Justice League thing, saying, there's a possibility this could be the last cover I ever do for DC. So having it be Godzilla walking off into the sunset with Guy Gardner stuck to the bottom of his foot just felt perfect for me. And if it is, that is kind of a nice little coda to his era at DC. Let me acknowledge this super chat. Animal rights is our focus. So kudos to DC for such a kind act, and double kudos to Chris for his great contribution to comics with this awesome show. That's kind of you. I don't think it has quite the same impact as DC sponsoring the dogs, but thank you for the kind words and the super chat. I really do appreciate it. Maguire added more to this, though. He followed up with a post on Threads. He said, for those asking why, because people were like, why would you be done with DC? He said, I want to spend the remainder of my career drawing what I want to, not what others want me to draw. I want to do storytelling, create and develop characters, not just do variant covers and pinups. I've been sitting on a number of creator-owned ideas. I need to stop procrastinating. I ain't getting younger. That and my page rate at DC has been the same for 20 years, and to do the kind of work I want to do, I just can't afford to work for them anymore. That hurts to hear. Wow. Cover rate hasn't increased in 20 years. I've heard that the wages in comics have been pretty damn stagnant. Things like original art values have gone up, which is kind of nice, but that's not something the company is offering you. You know, that's like something the market is asking for that can help creators. He talked a little bit more about this after this. You know, he said, look, the cover rate is not the main reason. He goes, the main reason really is that I just want to get to a point where I am doing my own stuff. I've been putting it off. He's got a creator-owned character. He published one issue, I think, at DC. I want to say her name is Taiga, Taiga. I could be misremembering the exact spelling of that. But he says he's got other ideas, and I respect that. I do. He's given a lot to comics over the years and made a name for himself. So if he's been sitting on some creator-owned ideas, yes, please get to them. I would be very, very curious to see that stuff. I think that Kevin is a master of giving us expressive but believable faces. You know, he can do some really nice, subtle work on facial expressions. It keeps it very interesting. I really give him all his props for that. This piece of news this week probably surprised me the most, and in a positive way. This is just amazing, folks. The Absolute line is doing so well for comics. DC has responded to the consistent demand from stores and readers to jump into the Absolute line of comics that they announced this week. They are going to reprint all 50 issues of their line, basically up to like a month or so ago. The individual issues. They're going to reprint 50 different Absolute comics. That's what the demand is. Let me break it down a little more for you. So, March 4th, these will all become available. New printings of Absolute Batman issues 1 through 14, Absolute Wonder Woman 1 through 11, Absolute Superman 1 through 10, Absolute Green Lantern 1 through 4, Absolute Flash 1 through 5, and Absolute Martian Manhunter 1 through 6. 50 different issues. They are all reprinting, all available there. And all of these are at least the third printing. All of these have had at least 2 printings. Some of them, like Absolute Batman, #1, that's going to be the 11th printing. There's going to be so many different color schemes. I've never been tempted to get reprint on top of reprint, but there is a little part of me that thinks that would actually look really nice to have 11 different iterations of this with the logo, the trade dress in different color patterns. I mean, what a pop art idea, you know? Like just that repetition, but with slight variation. There's a little something there that excites me a tiny bit. And that's just impressive as hell. A year and a half in, and it isn't like it's just Batman or something, you know? It's all of these books have demand and interest. They're doing something new by being creator forward. That's the difference. They're letting the creators really play with the ideas. None of these, by the way, have a final order cutoff. Usually when a comic book is solicited, they say you have to get your orders in by this date. That way they know how many to print, okay? They're not doing that. So DC is basically just looking at all their data and saying, and I don't know what it is. They haven't been transparent there, but they're going to print a certain number of each of these issues with the assumption that even if it doesn't sell right away, it'll be asked for and they'll clear out the warehouses of all these printings. 50 different comics getting reprints, 50 individual issues. That to me speaks to very, very high sales. And they have shared that the orders on a bunch of the Absolute Batman keep going up. They haven't plateaued yet. They've slowed, of course, but people keep getting the reprints and getting caught up. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like this in comics, to be honest. Not for this many books, not for a whole line. I've seen individual comics like Walking Dead buck the trends. And the orders go up, and you're like, wow, a black and white non-superhero book. Wouldn't have expected that. But for a whole line of books, I've never seen anything quite like this. but I get it. They're good. Let's see. To think everyone clowned on Absolute Bats, now it's hot. It's fun. Once you get into it, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, he's built like, a brick shit house, and that's crazy that he could also be acrobatic. But the book is a little over the top in an intentional way, and it sort of balances that with real drama and real body horror. I absolutely loved Comic Tropes ad. After Dark. Thank you, Will. I'm so dumb. It took me a minute there. Anyway, yeah. I will say I haven't read or gotten super into all of the absolutes. Like I'm into Absolute Batman and Absolute Wonder Woman, and I'll probably get back onto Absolute Martian Manhunter. The others don't interest me as much, but that's still like to even get 2 or 3 is a lot for me, because I'm not going to read everything anymore. I generally, superheroes don't super excite me unless they're doing something new and different, or they're allowed to do their own thing. Andy, nice to see you. Always nice to see you. It's been a little while since you've been dropped in on a live stream, but big fan. Nice to see you. Let's see. I went to Midtown Comics. They're going to be in the news later. And all the back issues of the Absolute line was empty. I could not find one issue. So there you go. They just keep selling. Hey, it's Raymar Brunson. Nice to see you too. They are going to reprint 50 individual issues all at once because they know it'll keep selling and it'll allow people to get caught up. This is very new. I think that the closest thing we've had to this is if a comic is doing well, people might catch up on the trade paperback. And even then, that's not a perfect way to get caught up because you're usually still at least something like 2 or 3 months behind. So you're like, well, am I only going to read it in the trade, or am I going to find a way to catch up to the monthly? People are getting into the monthly. They want to read it as soon as it comes out. And I'm just really impressed that DC has tapped into something that connects with readers this much. It's good for comics and it's fun. Hey, that's always a good idea too. Get yourself a library card, check out trades. That's always, yeah. And a lot of them will have apps that you can use your library card with, like Hoopla, and you can also get caught up on comics that way. It's free. You pay your taxes, you get a library card. All right. This is a little just for fun, because I'm a Lego nerd. Lego Batman, Legacy of the Dark Knight. That's going to be the next Lego game that comes out. It's coming out. Or I will have my vengeance. Anyway, it's kind of fun because it's not just doing an adaptation of, say, the comics or the cartoon or the movies. It's adapting across all of Batman media. So that's a little fun. As of today, 14 villains have been announced for the game. And one of them is Joker/Red Hood. It says that it's going to actually show one of his origins where he's Red Hood and he falls into the acid. But there's also been, if you watch the trailers, you can see a Heath Ledger inspired Joker, and you can also see a Jack Nicholson 1989 Batman inspired Joker. So they're doing multiple versions. Library cards. Make PBS Arthur proud. Yes, very, very nice. Kind of like that, but I think obviously Batman has even more history, right? What, like over 85 years of history. So he's got a lot of stuff that you can pull from. So we got Joker, we've got Harley Quinn. I don't think that's a surprise. Catwoman, at least in this version, looks like they're adapting from the Batman Returns movie with Michelle Pfeiffer. Penguin, who visually they made kind of look like maybe the cartoon or the animated series of the 90s, but in the trailer, he's specifically recreating a scene from the most recent The Batman movie where he's racing in a car away from Batman. Bane is going to be in there. Looks primarily inspired from what I've seen by the Nolan trilogy, but also there's definitely some Bane stuff in there that's taken from the Arkham Knight games. So they are taking stuff also from other video games. Ra's al Ghul's going to be in there. He's got his classic Neil Adams-esque kind of look. I guess a little bit like what they sort of adapted for the animated series too. Talia, his daughter, it's another villain. Sometimes not a villain. Garfield. Okay, Firefly. Garfield Lynns is Firefly. You know, I think Firefly has a good amount of potential that has never quite been properly tapped. I think maybe not quite top tier, but I think that Firefly should be a bigger threat than he is. Like, I look at Killer Moth and they try to do new things, and Killer Moth has never interested me, you know? Ventriloquist and Scarface. Well, actually, I've heard that there is a good story, isn't there, in the recent Batman Dark Patterns, but I didn't read that. Anyway, I just feel like the idea of an armored arsonist could be very, very dangerous. And I feel like that should be a bigger threat. Also, it's like a real type of criminal that we somewhat commonly have. So there's stuff you could adapt. I know. I really would have been interested to see Brendan Fraser play Firefly in that Batgirl movie. Filmed the whole thing. I can't wait to read it in trade paperback. I heard so many good things about Dark Patterns. What else? Mr. Freeze, and that's clearly based off of the Arnold Schwarzenegger version from Batman and Robin. Wouldn't have guessed at that. I think my favorite version of Mr. Freeze is definitely the animated series. Oh my God, they made him such a tragic villain that you kind of care for. The voice, just incredible. Thank you for this. Absolute Flash is blowing my mind. Oh, it's quite the thriller that's got me hooked so far. I recommend it. Well, I'll keep that in mind. Thank you very much, Sync Shadow. I appreciate the support. Yes, it's ice to see him. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. Every single line of his in Batman and Robin was a pun, right? I don't think he had... Cool party. We've got Two-Face. Also looks to be from the live-action movies. Looks very much like the Tommy Lee Jones Batman Forever version there. Just probably my personal least favorite take on Two-Face. Just did not feel like Two-Face. Just felt like Joker light. Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy. Don't know exactly which version they're adapting there. I couldn't tell from the ads. Riddler. And they say that this version of Riddler will be very much pulled from the Arkham Knights games, where he's got little riddles all across the city that you can solve. I like that idea. Who expected this? Egghead. How many of you even remember Egghead? I grew up with Egghead, but I don't think many people did, because he is not from the comics. Egghead was Vincent Price on the 60s Batman live action show with Adam West. Egghead. Batman, you have persuaded me that I will not go down a path of crime. You've convinced me. Instead, I'll deal with creepy, crawly spiders. I know, they made him look like Vincent Price. The 60s show is incredible. I think there's a small chance that Professor Pig could end up in it. One more to announce. Condiment King will be in the game. And that's another one, not from the comics, originally created for the animated series. And I think he was, though, briefly in the Lego Batman movie, if I'm remembering right. This game is going to be excellent. I made a little pun. Perfect impression? I don't know. I'm just showing you the 14 that are confirmed. There are very likely to be more as we get closer to May 29th. I just thought it was fun to talk about, and without realizing it, it gave me an excuse to do a perfect, flawless, chef's kiss, Egghead impression. That would be pretty cool. Well, wait, didn't Billy D. Williams get to voice Two-Face in the Lego Batman movie? Hold on, let me look that up because I think he did. Billy D. Williams. Yep, he did. 2017. He finally got to, like, he played Harvey Dent, of course, in the 89 movie. He voiced Two-Face in the Lego Batman movie. It was a small role, admittedly, but he did kind of get to play that villain, which is kind of cool. Yeah, West Coast Dave Vengers is often here. He's a good friend. He's a good buddy. What else do I have? Midtown Comics. I feel like if you've been to New York City and you're a comics nerd, you've gone to Midtown, right? There's a couple comic book stores that hopefully you've been to. Some of them aren't around anymore, but like St. Mark's was an awesome place back in the day. St. Mark's was so cool. I used to love Jim Hanley's universe when it was right across from the Empire State Building. But anyway, Midtown Comics is a big one. It's a big one. Yes. Let's see. So one of the bigger comic book shops in New York is actually going to close for a while. Midtown Comics is going to temporarily close its downtown location, the one at 64 Fulton Street. They're closing later this month, February 28th, all the way through May 12th to make way for renovations. Okay. Yeah, Forbidden Planet is a fun one. I like going there. I met what do you call it? Bill Sienkiewicz. The first time I ever got to like have a conversation was there at Forbidden Planet in Manhattan. So that's a good memory. Anyway, Midtown Comics. The store plans to host a grand reopening on May 13th. 2 new floors. So they're making some big expansions to this location. To be clear, or I should tell you this first. If you're in the area or you swing by there before their grand reopening, or I don't even mean that. If you can swing by there this month, February, the store has a 40% off sale going from now to the 28th. And just so you know, the Midtown Comics at Times Square, that's the one that everybody kind of knows. That one is definitely open, regular hours. So is their Astoria, Queens outlet store, where you can find some really good deals. They almost always have sales going on. They've got tons of back issues. If you're into back issues for comics, I do really recommend going to the Astoria, Queens Midtown Comics. You're going to find lots of stuff just like you would at, say, Mile High Comics, but they're going to be priced a lot better. I would love to visit someday the Mile High Comics big warehouse, but I've always heard from all my friends who've gone there, you go there to sort of look and treat it like a museum, but their prices are just ridiculous. That's what I've always been told. I don't know it for a fact. Yes, this is a good closing ultimately. They're going to expand 2 more floors. Going to have a sale this month, going to have a grand reopening. I think it's all good news. It's just, I've got a lot of viewers in New York. I thought I'd put this out there so that they know they might want to pivot to shopping at a different store for a couple months. You can confirm that Mile High is kind of overpriced. I've always heard that. I'd still like to visit it. It's a little bit of comics history, even if it's sort of messy history. Another comic store. This one is bonkers. Depending on how you feel about Ponzi schemes. All right, so South Bend, Indiana businessman out there. Guy is named Bruce Jones. He's facing right now a civil lawsuit that alleges he's been running a Ponzi-style investment scheme among a lot of developers in the South Bend, Indiana area, that he hasn't been investing the money he's been given, that he's been rolling it into new ventures and constantly getting new money. Pretty bad stuff. Well, so yeah, an investor, I forget the guy's name because I'm bad at names. You can look up the lawsuit right now. But he claims that his funds were misused, that investor money was used to pay earlier investors. Now the FBI is involved in an investigation. Yikes. Serious stuff. So community reports indicate that a managing partner at Warehouse Comics in the area is connected to Bruce Jones, through outside business dealings. So the allegation, let's be very clear, one partner at Warehouse Comics, not the whole team, not the other managers, but one managing partner is connected to this guy who's being accused of a Ponzi scheme because he has other business interests with this guy. Still pretty messy. Yeah, drama, as Dylan says. Local customers are talking on Reddit about this. That's where I was reading a bunch of opinions. There's also local news reports about it, just to be clear. But the local customers are talking about how Warehouse Comics seems to be closing at the end of the month, or maybe moving. That they're not clear, but that the other owners seem to be working to disentangle themselves from the managing partner allegedly working with Jones. Their Facebook page does recommend that if you have any gift cards, that you use them before the end of this month. So store might be closing, might be moving, just got some messy stuff behind the scenes. This store itself didn't do anything wrong. That's not the allegations. But if you're in the area, you have a gift card, might want to use it. Aren't you? I thought you were down in New Mexico, Andy, for some reason. Oh, you're saying expat. Excuse me. Expat, yeah. Just passing on the word. Pretty crazy story, though. A Ponzi scheme. My God. Let's talk about DSTLRY. I put it in the thumbnail. Yeah, I've been wondering what's been going on with DSTLRY. There's been a little bit of transparency from the publisher themselves. So DSTLRY had, in my opinion, confusingly not solicited any comics for March. And then last week, they weren't soliciting anything for April. So it's like, where are your upcoming comics? You're a publisher, right? And then new books that were originally scheduled for January and February just sort of vanished from being able to be ordered. So it was like, where did they go? That's been the question lately. Thank you, Steve. May go to bed early reading One Piece. Let's go, Mets. Thank you for all the support. If you need to go to bed, that's fine. If you want to drink some caffeine and stay up all night, that's good too. So here's what's new. This week, DSTLRY issued a statement to stores announcing that they are taking an indefinite pause. Not great, to be honest, but at least they're keeping people up to date. They say that they're proud of what they did in the statement. They say that they, published Somno, which won an Eisner. I get it. There's a lot of sort of bragging up front. Then finally, they explain why they were impacted, and they say it was because they moved from Lunar to Diamond just before Diamond, 2 months before Diamond declared bankruptcy. They made the absolutely inexplicable decision of moving from Lunar to Diamond. That's the opposite way, obviously, everybody else was doing things. So that makes some sense. Like, yeah, okay, you got caught up with Diamond's problems for distribution. That does make sense. That I get why that would cause some books to be certainly delayed. No question. But why go on hiatus now? Well, DSTLRY added that the following titles are paused. They explicitly said that they're not canceled. And they listed City Beneath Her Feet, Endeavor, Galactic, Mischief of Magpies, and White Boat, which is one of the ones I was definitely reading. And there's no question, all the talent behind it is incredible. But this isn't even all the books that they were publishing. Like, I was really enjoying it. It's like over a year ago now, but the first issue of the book by Scott Snyder and Jock, You Won't Feel a Thing. I thought that was a really cool first issue. I was totally invested in this mystery. And then I haven't heard anything about issue 2. Well, it's interesting that you ask that. I don't think that's what happened at all. Now, I'm not in the know. I don't have any inside information, Andy. All I can gather is like reading each article from different sites. The only piece I have to talk about comes from the more gossipy one, Bleeding Cool. Bleeding Cool said that the relationship between Lunar and Distillery just broke down without any more details. At the same time, I go, that sounds plausible, because I've got another piece of news about Lunar later. It's not related to this. It's another thing. The other piece, though, is that the guys that formed this, they've also launched recently Neon Ichiban, right? They were the guys that created Comixology. And they've always been, I think, a little too focused on the digital aspect. Having a good reader, which they do, I get. That's awesome. But when Distillery launched, they were like, you can buy a digital remark. And I was like, well, it isn't an NFT, but it's a similar idea to me. The idea of buying a digital thing. I was never super into it. I'm okay with the idea of buying a digital comic just to read, like that provides a certain value. But owning sort of a digital variant cover or a digital remark, I don't know. That doesn't do a whole lot for me personally. So I'm not 100% sure. It seems like they might have had focus, in other words, in an area that didn't really benefit them, that maybe they should have rolled out later, but that's what interested them. Yeah, I guess I don't have anything else. I didn't know if I had anything else. I've liked the Distillery books that I got. They got some fantastic talent. I have nothing to say that's bad about their books. I think they're a good value. I think that they're good formatting, good printing, good stories and art. But business-wise, I just have no idea what's going on with them. And I don't have a lot of faith in them coming out. Yeah, they just sort of saying, we're on hiatus, we'll be back, things are paused. Would be great if you just said, like, they're paused for 4 months, 5 months. Just give us some sort of an idea. At the same time, they're giving the stores at least a little bit of heads up so that they're not constantly trying to push off a customer asking for this book. They can tell them, like, I don't know when we'll be able to order this. That's something, but it's not great. Yeah, exactly. I also like reading a digital comic sometimes. Sometimes that's the most convenient way. But a digital stamp does nothing for me. Distillery went to the store for cigarettes. Hey, they are going to be right back, buddy. You just keep watching your cartoons. I'll be right back. That's an interesting thing. Again, this was just from Bleeding Cool, and they didn't really give any names to any of this. But Bleeding Cool said they spoke to some creators who said that they had payment issues. Whoa, getting really blown out with the light. Sorry, hold on. That is crazy. I'm not that white. I look like Casper the Friendly Ghost. The magazine format, it's like I don't love for sort of trying to put with all the rest of my comics. But at this point, I get plenty of books that are strange sizes, whether it's an omnibus or a manga or, just some sort of indie book. So I do put a fair amount of books on the shelf. And if Distillery wants to publish in a slightly different format, I wouldn't call it a problem. It isn't as convenient as throwing all my other comics into a box, but I can live with it. Somno is very good. Yeah. NFT? Oh, they were super popular for like a brief window, like 2 or 3 years ago. It stands for non-fungible token. In other words, you were investing in something you could trade that didn't physically exist. You were dealing that's non-fungible, not physical. You can't hold it. You had a token that represented that you bought something digital. Ugh. Honestly, like the bottom dropped out of that, and it's pretty weird that some of them are still out there because people lost a lot of money on them. Lost a lot of money. I don't know if anybody really. The only people that made money were people that did what's called a rug pull, where they're sort of early adopters that are promoting it, so they're given some as like compensation. They talk it up and everybody buys it, and then they sell off theirs real quick at the beginning. It's called a rug pull. So I'll keep going. Widow. I've never heard of Widow, but this is an interesting contest I thought I'd pass on to people looking to potentially break in as writers. Something called Script to Comic. It's a competition that it's really aimed at screenwriters, people in the industry that are writing movies, a chance to turn their scripts into a comic book. And they got a new sponsor for this year. Now, on one level, I really hate the idea of people just trying to use a comic book as a proof of concept to get something else. But as a way to break in, this seemed to me to be pretty transparent and not looking to steal all your rights necessarily. So that's why I'm passing it on. Something called Tambora Pictures. They're going to adapt the comic book Widow into a live action movie. It has some name actors in it. They joined AMP Comics, who publish Widow, and also Japanese manga publisher Kodansha, who's huge, as a sponsor of this contest. They've had it in the past. This year, submissions will be accepted via the platform Film Freeway. The grand prize winner gets their script adapted into a comic by AMP. So if you're only a writer that has no idea about comics, this is obviously a way to help get some connections, get that in the works. A chance to have it adapted into a manga by Kodansha, and it will be put into development as a film. Now, go ahead and read the rules before you even think of applying, but I will say that I read them, and the rules do state that you retain ownership to your screenplay no matter what. You would be presented with potential contracts for the adaptations into like comics, manga, and film. And then it's up to you, if you want to agree to those or not. So thought I'd pass it on to writers that were potentially looking for an opportunity. Up to you. Marvel. I've got a bunch of Marvel news now, including a bunch of Spider-Man stuff, different Spider-Man stuff. I think the odds just depend on the quality of what's submitted. You can submit more than one if you've got like a bunch of screenplays. You do have to pay a little something for it, and that cost goes up as you get closer to the deadline. But it's not an easy world to break into. Film is even more competitive than comics. So anyway, let me talk about Spider-Man, Superman a little bit. Okay, Marvel revealed this week some more stories and covers for its upcoming DC crossover Spider-Man, Superman, which comes out April 15th, not that far away. 2 newly revealed stories. A team up with Supergirl and Ghost Spider, and that's by Stephanie Phillips, who I believe is the current writer on Ghost Spider, and Phil Noto, great artist. Also a story with Spidey and Superman by Jeff Loeb and Jim Chung, who were recently announced to be doing a Batman Wonder Woman team-up book, like a one-shot thing. Some covers that were revealed. New variant covers were revealed. They include Gary Frank, and that's got Superman and Spider-Man versus Mysterio. Looks nice. An Humberto Ramos cover with Gwen Stacy and Lana Long? How about Lana Lang? Having a lunch date. You can see Spider-Man and Superman fighting something in the city in the deep background. There's a nice painted one by E.M. Geist, like a low angle looking up at Spider-Man and Superman sort of flying and webbing through the city. It's pretty. A humorous Scotty Young one. I don't want to give away his gags, but yeah, that's nice. And then this Frank Miller cover that I'm showing you that also added Batman, because I think if Frank Miller feels like adding something, you just let him, because he is Frank Miller. And, you can sort of glance at it and guess that, yeah, there was a lot of social media discussion about it. Some people just saying like, cool, Frank Miller does what he wants. He does something that's certainly eye-catching and iconic. He uses big shapes, and lots of people just saying like that they just do not like how it looks. Especially a lot of people saying that they didn't really like Superman, which I think is supposed to be steel, maybe? I don't really know. I don't know. But look, a bunch of people do like it here. Like Dave says he loves it. Zorgon says they love it. And yeah, I think it looks cool. I just don't... I don't love the Superman part of it. The Spider-Man in his armor from the 90s and the Batman, I'm totally fine actually with them. I really am. I don't mind Frank Miller's current sort of simplified, blocky style. I go, he's just going for something different and iconic and simplified. And that does follow a sort of progression where Frank Miller has always been about economy of line work. So I don't hate it. But I'd be lying if I said that I like this as much as I liked what he was creating in the 80s with Daredevil or Ronin. That's my favorite era of his artwork. That's me. But I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I'm just a little confused as to exactly which version of Superman this is. I think Steel? I don't know. I don't think it's a photo background. I'm pretty sure that's digital. I think they're just going for something kind of simple, but like colors that would contrast, since he used basically grays. So they're given like something just a little bit brighter. I think it actually isn't too bad. It's certainly better than I loved Lynn Varley's colors on a lot of early Frank Miller projects. Loved it. I think her best work with Frank is probably on David Mazzucchelli's artwork in Batman Year One. Next to positive, that was Lynn Varley. Then when Dark Knight Strikes Back came around, she went crazy with the colors. Like, just, hey, it's digital. We can do some really bright stuff and weird effects. And I don't love that. I think that Frank's work, especially as we get closer to what he's doing now, works best with mostly flat colors. Not a lot of rendering. I even look at this and I go, I don't think this needs the highlights, or at least as intense as they are. I don't mind that they've used some, like, colors from the background to sort of indicate areas where the light is wrapping around. I don't mind that, but I feel like these highlights, I don't think that they really help, because the work is so blocky that I think a flat color might benefit it more. I think it's just how vibrant the background is more than anything else. I don't think so. I don't think that they had I think that they had a bad breakup from what I remember. Oh, Mazzucchelli's wife colored Year One? Then I'm trying to remember what I liked by Lynn Varley that I liked so much. Because Year One was great, first of all. Year One was great. Richmond Lewis, that name, Lewis does sound familiar. You could be right. I could be just misremembering. I'm bad at names. Year One was Richmond Lewis. Okay. And you know why I probably confused that is because it was Mazzucchelli and his partner, and Lynn Varley used to be Frank Miller's partner. So I think I sort of got that tangled in my head. Yeah, she probably did both 300 and Ronin, right? Because it was going up into like the 90s. Anyway, I'd have to look at her work a lot more carefully. You know what I figured out this week, though, folks? I think I'm going to do another episode about coloring. It's hard for me to do a lot of stuff about coloring because I know some stuff and I've colored stuff, but I'm not a colorist. I don't understand color theory as well as, some of my friends, like, say, Mark Englert, who colors comics. I don't understand color theory on the same level. But I did clue into a certain way that Mateus Lopez colors, especially on books that I really like and I've talked about before, Helen of Windhorn and Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. I think I found a certain technique that Lopez is using that I'd love to discuss. So I'm pretty excited that I'll get to talk about coloring again, because that's exciting to me when I get to talk about something I don't get to talk about all the time. Yeah, definitely Varley's colors on Daredevil, Elektra Lives Again, really, really good stuff. Fuck no, I did not see that shit. No interest. And from the viewing numbers, it doesn't seem like all that many people did. Moving on, this is a kind of positive little book. Spider-Man, Meals to Astonish. And I don't know if EJ Sue is still in the chat, but EJ has some work in this book. So Marvel says, oh, I got this out of order. Hold on. Let me just, there it is. I'll just read it like this. Marvel announced a one-shot. It's coming out next month. It's called Spider-Man Meals to Astonish, and they've actually teamed up with the real-life restaurateur, chef, humanitarian, educator, Jose Andres, alongside his team at the World Central Kitchen. They are going to make, apparently, future one-shots, and it's all designed to celebrate the importance of food and nourishment and how important that is to communities in crisis all over the world. Main story anyway, by Steve Orlando, artist Roy Mercado. It's going to feature Peter Parker photographing Chef Andres' latest opening, gets interrupted by Electro. Okay. But the comic is also going to feature some fun side stories. Jeff the Land Shark in something. The multiverse hero Spider Men. That's pretty good. And E.J. Sue's Marvel Infinite comic, Test Kitchen. That features a food truck chef named Anna Amayama. And Anna's food truck gets destroyed in a superhero battle, but she ends up becoming a chef for Tony Stark. And it's a really lovely looking book, by the way. Like, EJ really did a fantastic job on it. And this also is going to get variant covers. Peach Momoko, Giuseppe Camacoli, and what I used here, Mike Mignola. So anyway, I think World Central Kitchen does a lot of good work, folks. They go into just absolutely devastated areas by like hurricanes and tsunamis and war zones. And they're in a lot of danger, but they're bringing food and water to these people that have been displaced or can't access good, clean food and water. Really, really impressive because, you know, this guy has success with various restaurants and could probably live a very comfortable life just, you know, doing a good job at his restaurants, which is also, you know, important. Doing reality shows or something like that. And instead, he works with the World Central Kitchen to deliver food to people in a lot of trouble. They've gone to, you know, Haiti and like Japan after a tsunami and Palestine. So they go to a lot of dangerous places and they're just there to help. And I think that basic humanity is really lovely. So the idea of making a comic book about it, I support that. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a comic I love, but I like the idea. I feel like he has, but I don't know if he's... Oh, let me think. Maybe... I mean, he did some stuff like before he really developed his own sort of style around the Hellboy era where he was doing, you know, fill-in issues of Hulk and stuff. I feel like he easily could have done a fill-in issue of Spider-Man, but it's not coming to me. I'd have to look it up. I'm not clear on that, so I didn't comment. I'm not clear on if this goes to charity or not. I hope so, but I don't know. If I find out, I'll do a follow-up. I was trying not to get too dark, but it has happened, unfortunately. Yeah, especially in Palestine. Some of them were killed. So pretty gross, but just speaks to these people, like how brave they are to just, you know, risk their lives to feed other people. It's pretty wonderful. Hey, hello to you in South Korea, and 감사합니다 for watching. The Mignola did Web of Spider-Man Annual #1. There we go. Moving on. How many of you know this X-Men villain? Probably not a lot of you, and I don't blame you, but let's talk about it. It was previously announced that actor Trammell Tillman was going to be in Spider-Man Brand New Day as an opponent of some sort, and that he was working for Damage Control. If you watch Severance, Trammell Tillman's amazing in that. He had a small, but I would say pretty memorable role in the last Mission Impossible movie. I think he's really charismatic. Yeah, EJ's first work that will actually be in print for Marvel. I'm happy for you. I know you've done covers for them like Star Wars and stuff, but this is your first interior. That's really cool. Anyway, so who's he playing in Spider-Man Brand New Day? Well, the Hollywood gossip account Nexus Point News said that he's going to be playing the, in my opinion, relatively obscure X-Men villain William Metzger. We all know William Metzger, right? Yeah, he was awesome in Mission Impossible as the sub-commander. This character was created by Joe Casey and Steve Rude. He was in the 6-issue series Children of the Atom back in 1999. And spoiler, he's dead by the end of the miniseries. So he's not super well known, but he was the leader of an anti-mutant militia. I don't think he'd be playing the exact same thing, to be honest. I think that this is more of an inspiration. It's not confirmed by anything I'm talking about, but it would make a certain type of sense if you've been watching. Damage Control is not the same as the organization in the comics. The Damage Control is sort of filling the role of like a dark version of S.H.I.E.L.D. these days. They're rounding up superheroes. They're portrayed as an organization that wants to like basically keep getting their government funding by putting people in the huge prison that they made that characters like Abomination are in. Without spoiling everything about Wonder Man, a big part of it is Damage Control is trying to suss out whether Simon Williams has superpowers just as an excuse to lock him up. And it's just to sort of, it's so shallow, like their reason for existing. They got this huge prison built, and then it isn't full because there haven't been that many supervillains yet. Oh, you have 2 copies of #1? Yeah, you should buy, I don't know, a small country in Europe at this point. So I think it's possible. I think it's possible that there could be basically a high up Damage Control guy that has something against mutants. I think that Marvel is slowly introducing characters in the movies that in the movie version they're mutants. I'm pretty sure that Kamala Khan and Wonder Man are mutants in the MCU as compared to an Inhuman and an enhanced human. I'm pretty sure. So yeah. There have been rumors that Jean Grey is going to be in the Spider-Man movie. I don't know if I buy into that, but do I buy that Spider-Man could be setting up that there are mutants? I definitely think that that's a possibility. I think it's definitely a possibility. Yeah, William Metzger miniseries. You can finally pitch it. They could launch from there into Friends of Humanity or just Bolivar Trask and his Sentinel program. There's a lot of Graydon Creed or William Stryker or Senator Kelly. There's a lot of anti-mutant characters in Marvel, and I think it might make sense to sort of use one that hasn't appeared a whole lot as a way to introduce the concept, and then you can build up to the better recognized villains in an actual X-Men movie. But it sort of establishes that this shared universe has anti-mutant people in it. I think that that's a good idea. Yeah, in the comics, Damage Control is very different. Damage Control is a company that's co-owned by Kingpin and Tony Stark and just fixes up battle-damaged areas really, really fast. They're special contractors, and it's a funny comic. In the MCU, they're more filling a role than like a straight adaptation of what Damage Control was. By the way, yeah, who was it? Dwayne McDuffie, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was Dwayne McDuffie who created the idea of Damage Control and wrote at least the first 3 miniseries. And in my opinion, those are very funny. And if you want something to search for in back issues that probably it doesn't cost a whole lot, all 3 of those first miniseries, I thought very, very funny. Some more Marvel stuff. I think it's the last Marvel thing I have, but Marvel has solicitations for Chip Zdarsky's May comics, and it seems to hint at what their next event, Armageddon, is designed to be. It's supposed to be something that will impact the Avengers. So here's their solicitation. Following Doom's fall at the end of One World Under Doom, Latveria is on the brink of civil war. In the latest arc of Captain America is deployed to prevent the race to control Doom's kingdom from erupting into a global conflict. Kind of getting it out. As tensions rise, Cap discovers a startling secret about Doom's legacy and goes head-to-head with the all-new S.H.I.E.L.D. and Red Hulk to defend Latveria's future. In Wolverine, Weapons of Armageddon, an investigation into missing mutants leads Wolverine to Prime Warrior, an all-new super soldier program. Looks like this might be some version of Nuke, if I had to guess. Teaming up with Dave Colton, a new Captain America introduced in Zdarsky's run, Wolverine vows to bring Prime Warrior down, confronting his own trauma as he faces off against a deadly new Weapon X. And when the pair comes across a mysterious Origin Box device originating from another universe, the Ultimate Universe, everybody, they'll unleash a power that will change the face of Earth's mightiest heroes. So whatever these Origin Boxes are from the Ultimate Universe, sounds like it's going to be just everybody fighting over them and maybe lead to the breakup of the Avengers again, something like that. I liked the end of that event, and events usually don't do a whole lot for me these days, but I kind of liked that one. I just read the series, not the tie-ins, and it ended pretty well. I don't want to spoil it. Wow, we're privileged. We've got a lot of pros in the chat tonight, folks. Eric Canetti, who I believe is about to be on West Coast Avengers Direct Edition show. He's frequently on the Ink Pulp Lives, and you will see his work very soon because he's doing the 2-issue arc in Absolute Batman with Poison Ivy. Looks pretty amazing. So yeah, I guess that's what happens. A pro drops in and we plug their stuff. And then I quietly contact them outside of the show and go, give me some money for that. That's worth money. No, I don't do that. That would be so rude. I didn't ask you to do that. Well, I did it. Give me some money. Oh, it came out today? I'm sorry that I'm behind then, Dave. I'm sorry. I thought that was being released on like Wednesday or Thursday. I didn't realize it came out today. Sorry. Not that sorry. I did plug it. All right. This one looks fun. The other stuff was like, interesting, maybe. We'll see how it comes out. This one definitely looks fun to me because I don't know about you guys, but I thought that Alex Ross's Fantastic Four Full Circle book was a really interesting way to adapt an existing Jack Kirby story and sort of modernize it, but just do his own thing. Anyway, he's doing another thing. Alex Ross is following up Fantastic Four Full Circle one-shot with another one-shot. This is called Marvel Dimensions. It's 112 pages, so no small one-shot, you know? But I love reading a full story all at once personally, so I just also want to say the stuff that Abrams Comics Arts is releasing these days, I don't understand why Marvel isn't releasing it themselves. Because Fantastic Four Full Circle was great. They're going to do some sort of Thor book with Eric Powell. Just let Eric Powell do what he wants with Thor. And they're releasing the John Byrne Elsewhere stuff. Basically, John Byrne's many years long X-Men fanfic. And those are all things with name creators that I don't understand why Marvel wouldn't release it themselves. But hey, fine, as long as it's coming out. And I really love the Abrams Comics Arts releases. They've been really well put together in terms of production and design. So yeah. Anyway, this one, Marvel Dimensions, comes out in September. Yeah, that's kind of what I feel like in some ways. Abrams has more respect for Marvel Comics than Marvel Comics does. They have some great projects, no question. The comic is said to be more experimental than the previous adaptation of the Kirby Lee issue of Fantastic Four. It's going to introduce up to 200 variations of heroes and their origins. And in the middle, it's going to contain its own sort of, I'll call it a chapter, but a 32-page comic that is said to be key to understanding the whole thing. So I don't know. He's doing his own sort of multiverse thing. I'm burned out on multiverse, but if an individual creator feels they've got a good take on it, I'm not going to discount that. Not at all. I've read pretty much all of it, and his black and white pencils. It's interesting, I'll say. It's interesting, and I'll be picking it up in the published colored version. I definitely will. So, Marvel Dimensions, is there anything else? I'll just say that Ross said that he's been working on this for 18 months. It's pretty impressive. He said half of it is being done pen and ink, which is how he did Fantastic Four Full Circle, and then the other half is painted, like what we're kind of used to on mostly his covers, but he does it interior here and there. So yeah, I don't know the exact price or anything on that. 112 pages, probably going to be hardcover, probably not going to be cheap. But as just a one-shot idea, just color me curious at this point. Color me curious. It's going to be a lot of posing. 30? I don't know if that's for this or one of the other Abrams, things like Elsewhere. I have a little bit more news. This one just annoyed me. I really like Chris Iliopoulos' comics. I think he's got a great style of his own. I've met him in person. He's just a really kind guy. Has done some funny backup stuff in Savage Dragon over the years. And he's done tons of these books with Brad Meltzer. Ordinary People Change the World. I think they've done, like, I'm not kidding, like 60 books about sort of real life heroes, people that have excelled in some field or other and just been, positive people. Well, unfortunately, the Board of Trustees of the Conroe Independent School District in Montgomery County, Texas, has honored a parental complaint about the children's comic book I Am Billie Jean King. They're going to ban it from their elementary school libraries because it mentions that Billie Jean has a wife. Oh my God. A real life thing. That sounds terrifying. The book's artist, Chris Iliopoulos, writes, quote, a school district in Houston. By the way, shouldn't it be pronounced Houston? I mean, New York had Houston Street first. Anyway, Houston. A district in Houston has banned our book, I Am Billie Jean King. I can't tell you how upset this makes me. One person gets to deny the story of a true hero all because we mention who she is and who she loves. You don't want your kids exposed to life's realities? You want to indoctrinate your kids? You want to deny the truth? Do that for yourself and your kids. Don't subject others to your narrow-minded view of the world. This just goes to show what an amazing hero King is. Think how brave it was for her to come out in a time where it was stigmatized. Now realize that there are still people out there still doing that and denying others of the chance to learn and grow as humans. This has gone too far. There is a better way. We can all be better. Empathy, kindness, giving, sharing, loving, and accepting people for who they are and what they stand for without judgment or bigotry. As these books say, you can change the world. So let's all get out there and change it for the better. Billie Jean King, one of the best tennis players ever. I don't think she's ever tried to hurt anybody. Oh no, she has a wife. I don't understand how that could be. It's not like there's chapters, just to be clear, dedicated on what they do in the bedroom. That would be inappropriate. That would be crazy. Anyway, this whole series has been a big success. They're sold in, like Walmarts and stuff like that. The fact that there's some backwards county out in Texas that one parent can just say hey, they mentioned that she has a wife, and the whole county's like, you're right, we'll ban it from the libraries. That's bonkers to me. That's bonkers. Why do people not get to vote at least on something like this? I don't get it. I don't get it. I think it's crazy. all I can hope for at this point, since it's like the damage is kind of done, is maybe it gets talked about enough that the book sells better to people in other parts of the world. And I'll just say, when I was growing up, if I ever heard that there was a banned book, keep in mind, I grew up like in high school and stuff. There was no internet, okay? But you'd hear stuff in magazines like if a book was banned in some places, that made me go out and get that book. You tell me that like Kurt Vonnegut was like somebody that was banned in places, I want to read his books. That was just me. Anytime somebody says any book is banned, it's like my personal Spidey sense goes off and I want to read whatever is there, because I'm like, what's somebody trying to keep from me? I am now curious. I remember that I really did not enjoy the book. What is it? Walden by Henry David Thoreau. Had to read that in school. Found that one boring as hell. So dry. Just did not interest me. But if they had told me that that book was banned, I would have gone out and tried to read it myself. I'll be honest. I did not know that Brad Meltzer has a conspiracy-based show. No, I didn't know anything about that. I know that he wrote a bunch of stuff like, what was it? Identity Crisis, I want to say, at DC, which I found like interesting, but too dark for like superhero, just traditional superhero stuff. But I didn't mind the plot or anything. Anyway. I'll try to move on so that we don't get too in the weeds talking about politics. I just thought that's insane. Oh, quick thing about Oni, which also relates a little bit to Lunar, which we were talking about earlier. So Oni announced this week that they're moving to Penguin Random House for exclusive distribution. They were an early publisher that moved to Lunar just as Diamond began having issues. But their deal now with Penguin Random House is going to cover all their books, and that begins August 1st. So they're moving from Lunar to Penguin Random House. I found that kind of interesting. And that Penguin Random House kind of only deals with pretty big publishers, and Oni maybe wasn't considered big enough at the time. But keep in mind, this comes weeks after Oni announced that they're going to begin publishing Archie titles this September. Maybe that makes them big enough. I don't know. Or maybe there was something to those rumors that Lunar and DSTLRY were having trouble communicating. I don't know. There's something else going on, but we're probably not privy to it, so I'm not going to speculate too much. I'm really not. They all look interesting. The one that interests me the most is probably the horror book Afterlife with Archie, because I think that's got art by Tyler Crook, who I think is a really good fit. Oni's a very different company now, but they're putting out some really good books. I've liked a lot of what Oni's put out. I loved Oni back in the day with like stuff like Scott Pilgrim, but I really like the way Oni's shaping up right now. Going to go back to some classic outlaw comics. Remember, anybody here read comics in the 90s when bad girl art was a huge thing? I mean, that was totally a Chaos Comics thing. Anyway, I'll start off letting you know Dynamite has the rights to most of Brian Pulido's characters, minus Lady Death. That's an important distinction. But just about everything else from Chaos Comics, they have now at Dynamite under a Chaos Comics imprint. And they've had that for quite a while. But this week, they announced a new partnership with Pulido himself. Dynamite's Nick Barucci and Brian Pulido's current comics imprint is called Coffin Comics. They've teamed up, and they're saying that they're bringing fans limited time reprint collections and merchandise available through multiple channels. They mean, comic book stores, maybe bookstores, but definitely direct to consumer crowdfunding, whether that's Indiegogo or Kickstarter. Don't know yet, but they're going to be doing that to reprint some of this stuff. Well, that's the way it's been, but this is the big difference, is now they can do everything. Yeah, they're going to kick off with a Kickstarter for a 3-volume set of Evil Ernie comics, and that's where Lady Death debuted, drawn by, what was his last name was Hughes, but he passed away, and I'm bad at names. What was his name? Hughes. Stephen Hughes? I think it was Stephen Hughes was the artist. Somebody fact check me on that? I think so. Yeah, that's Evil Ernie there on the cover. Anyway, it's going to be presented in multiple formats, over 1,500 pages. Pretty big. Stephen Hughes, thank you. Good. Dynamite also is promising that they're going to do future Kickstarters focusing on Lady Death, Purgatory, Chastity, the Coffin universe. So anyway, just working together. If that's your thing or you've ever been curious, well, the guy that, co-created it all, wrote it all, he's working with Dynamite to bring it all back. He sold it for some reason. He might have had to. I don't remember any more of the details. When the 90s started collapsing after, industry speculation, this, that, and the other, a lot of smaller publishers had to sell off their stuff and close down for a while. But he was pretty smart to hold on to Lady Death. He was pretty smart. I think that there's an audience for both nostalgia and people that are, probably more indoctrinated into indie comics instead of straight superhero comics, just more into sort of outlaw indie stuff. I think that there probably is a healthy audience for it. This is pretty cool. I might check this out. Todd McFarlane shared details on the upcoming She Spawn miniseries, and that's going to be written by Gail Simone, featuring art by Ig Guara, and I have to admit, not super familiar with Ig. What I saw looked pretty good. Just, hey, welcome home. Glad you got home safe, Jeannie. Thanks for checking in. That's my sister. Anyway, this is all going to debut May 6th. Yeah, Gail working with Todd. This is what, the Spawn comics people say. She Spawn centers on Jessica Priest, a character whose life has been shaped by violence, duty, and sacrifice. A former soldier, assassin, superhero, and mother, Priest now finds herself pulled into a brutal confrontation with an angelic cult determined to sacrifice a child in the name of their god. What begins as a mission quickly becomes something far more personal, forcing Jessica to confront the regret and responsibility that have followed her long after she stepped into the role of She Spawn. I think that Jim Mafood and I talked a little bit about this in our Trash Movie Bonanza episode about the Spawn movie. That was a place where instead of Rob Liefeld's character Chapel killing Al Simmons to start Spawn, that's what happened originally in the comics. They swapped that out with a new government assassin called Jessica Priest. And then they retconned the comics, and now she has come back to life as a Spawn. So it is an interesting journey, to see that, like, that is probably the only lasting impact of that movie, is that it created a character that Todd McFarlane was like, well, you know what? Let's actually use this and lean into it. Yeah, not the first character I'd have thought of either, but keep in mind, she has done some great stuff with like Red Sonja, and I see that as another sort of badass female character at, a little bit more of an independent publisher, at least not the big two. Is Gail the first female writer to tackle a Spawn universe book? That is a great question, Dave. I'm thinking. I feel like there'd have to have been another female writer, right? Maybe not. Huh. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I can't think of one right now. But I also will say, I might know a good amount about comics. I wouldn't say that I'm an expert in Spawn anymore. There was definitely an era where I was, and you move on and you lose a little bit of the continuity and the knowledge of every creator that worked on it. I can't think of one right now. I think that Gail could do a great job. Last real piece of news I have is about Comics the Magazine, which is definitely a new attempt at doing something like Wizard the Guide to Comics. It just is. Well, orders for the upcoming Comics the Magazine have apparently topped 100,000 copies for the debut issue. That's very, very healthy for a magazine about comics. That's very healthy. This strong performance, I think, highlights direct market support from comic shops and collectors. So it seems to me that it's, comic shops are feeling like that this is something that would benefit them if they carried it. Oh, thank you. Erica Schultz is recognized as the first female writer for the Spawn series because, Rat City, right? Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Couldn't think of it. Team behind the magazine includes a bunch of industry vets that have worked for Valiant, Skybound, AWA. So, some people that definitely know the industry. It's published by Prana, who also does, they track sales and stuff. And you can you have to subscribe to get access to that, but they do track comic sales. And they've got a YouTube channel about comics. First issue content highlights. They're going to have an exclusive Absolute Batman feature. I believe they're talking to everybody that works on the title regularly. Colorist, letterer, of course, writer and artist. Creator interviews and discussion pieces. I'm trying to remember. There's a creator that's hosting a round table of pros there were two guys that worked on Local Man at Image. It was Tony Fleeks, and who was the second guy that's not coming to me right now? He's also written G.I. Joe and other stuff. It's not coming to me right now. But he's holding an industry roundtable. Also Chew, the comic. It's going to come back. They're going to have backup comics in this. That's kind of fun. The magazine's director of sales, Gabe Yoakum, shaved his 12-year-old beard live after hitting the 100,000 order mark on their YouTube channel. So that was fun. Tim Seeley. Yes, Tim Seeley, I believe, is hosting some roundtable. I think that could be fun. Yeah, I agree with you. Tomorrow's is very professional and great research, but they do seem to generally have much more of an interest in Golden and Silver Age, maybe up through Bronze Age. They seem to focus on older stuff, yeah. Oh, this is interesting. Jim Rugg has an article in the first issue. It's an article about comic magazines. Well, that's perfect. Jim loves zines, I think, about as much as he loves comics, so I like that. I wouldn't know the first thing about publishing a comic magazine. I really wouldn't. I can do YouTube. That's what I can do. And I try to do that as well as I can. And maybe write the occasional blog post on my Patreon. That's about as much as I can do. But I did want to promote two quick links for folks. Just things that I saw this week. Some creators that apparently need help. There's writer Paul Allor, and he's got something called Diabetic Ketoacidosis, and apparently he needs some help, so he's got a GoFundMe. And then Tom Tenney, probably not that well known of a name. He did do Force Works for Marvel in the 90s, but he has COPD, and apparently he's in tough times. So there's just links. If you were in a position to donate $1 or $2, I think that that would add up to helping both of these creators. It does make me sad that we live in a time where I could probably almost every day find a GoFundMe for somebody connected to the comics field that could use a little bit of help. I really wish our industry, that I absolutely adore as a storytelling medium, had some more formal structure in terms of, finding a way for freelancers to get health benefits. And prepare for retirement. That would make me really, really happy. Maybe someday one of the, nonprofits out there like Hero Initiative or something will come up with some programs for that. But that is definitely kind of a long-term project. That's nice. Andy says, I've worked with Paul. He's a good man. Help him out if you can afford to. Yeah. So anyway, That's really, I'm sorry for your loss. My sincere condolences. I'm sorry. No, that's tough to hear. So, what's the common thread here is, we'll see this for American comic creators. I have very rarely come across European or South American or Japanese or Chinese or South Korean creators that have these kind of projects. So I do feel that our country has a gap where if you're not in a union, but you do sort of gig economy or freelance work, you should have access to some sort of a program where it could manage some of that risk. Yeah, that would just be nice. Anyway, I wanted to share that with everybody. Hopefully that wasn't too bad. I want to talk in depth about some of the comic books that came out this week. Let me switch there. Give me a moment to set up my camera so that I can have a top-down view of some of the comics that came out this week, and we're going to do some reviews. Yeah.
Let's review.
Review it.
The review.
The reviews are in. I repeat, the reviews are in.
Go to your reviews.
What?
Speaking of bad reviews.
Don't worry about that review.
Let's review all the facts.
All right, gentlemen, let's review.
Before we do, let's review.
Those reviews really came out fast.
Maybe we can review some right now?
I'm not going to review all that again.
Now let's review.
Not my worst review.
Let's review, shall we? To review.
I think I've reviewed about as much as I can.
I'm back. Thank you. Just always need that minute or two to set up. Actually, that looks a little fuzzy. Darn it. Give me a sec here to see what I can do for focusing. That looks pretty sharp, and then back out a little. Yeah, I think that's a little better. Thank you. So, I only got 5 comics this week. Only 5 is a good amount. I wish every week was 5 or less, but sometimes I get a little bit more just so that I have stuff to talk about with everybody. I have quite a few different opinions about the quality levels of some of these. Ultimate Endgame, the end of the Ultimate Universe. I liked the first issue. Okay, I liked what it set up. This is written by Dennis Camp, by the way, who has had an incredible year with stuff like Absolute Martian Manhunter, The Ultimates I absolutely love, Assorted Crisis events at Image. So I'm all for him doing a big, complex sci-fi concept with this, with a bunch of characters. He's got plenty of credentials that would lead me to think I'd like this. I'll be honest. I didn't really care for the second issue a whole lot. The first issue dealt with two things. Some of the superheroes in the Ultimate Universe were fighting the evil like S.H.I.E.L.D. and other sort of supervillains that the Maker has put in charge of the world. And the others went into something called the City, which has trapped the Maker in their world for about 2 years, but it's the equivalent of about 2,000 years for him, okay? And in that time, the Maker, and if you don't know, the Maker is the original Ultimate Universe Reed Richards. So he's a genius and he can stretch, okay? He turned into the City. He basically stretched himself into, the world that he lives in, and he began exuding microplastics from himself, which became a type of toxin that people would breathe in this world, and he would control them. And that's a cool premise. Tony Stark's father, Howard Stark, becomes the Ultimate Universe version of Immortus. He's living in sort of these shared moments called limbo, which is basically what Immortus has always done as a time traveler. And he keeps the Maker at a stalemate throughout time. He dies a lot, but he's gone crazy from all of it. It's a good premise. But here's the thing. I felt next to no real danger because they're in this crazy world, right? That's like timeless, and it's not the outside world. And I'm like, What are the stakes here? That we're going to lose like 4 superheroes or something? I don't know that I care about that much. I mean, I like Ultimate Spider-Man okay. I like Ultimate Iron Man, or what does he call himself in this? Iron Lad, America Chavez. I like them okay, but I don't care that much if they fail in this universe. What are the stakes for the outside world? The characters that I care about, like, Spider-Man's real life family. I care about them. I care about the Ultimate X-Men. I like those characters in Peach Momoko's book. I don't care that much about like just superheroes. And Dennis Camp has introduced interesting real life, not real life, but like non-super powered everyday citizens, sometimes in just like one issue of Ultimates, and I care about them. And I'm like, wow, I don't want anything bad to happen to that person. So I wish that there was something like that where I cared about the stakes. This is just like the maker being an overwhelming force, and all I can say is that it does end on a bit of a twist that gives the maker a huge advantage. But I'm not sure if I believe it, or if there's going to be like sort of a double cross or something like that. That is a version of Death's Head, and he's one of the more interesting characters in this because he's like the 22nd Death's Head, and his creator Howard Stark has like, he keeps saying that the 18th was his favorite and that the 23rd is good too, and he's like, but I'm the 22nd because it's all out of time and stuff. There's some funny stuff with Death's Head in this, I will say that. Let's see. But Chris, what if there's an event that features them in a different book entirely? Exactly. The Ultimates book, the monthly book, I'm enjoying quite a bit. The twists and turns with characters like Vision and Wasp have been fantastic. I wouldn't consider it outright bad, and the art is certainly good. I just don't really... I didn't feel the stakes in this issue. I didn't connect with the characters. It's almost like the wibbledy-wobbledy, timey-wimey stuff just gets too esoteric. I'm okay with not always understanding the full rules to some sort of cosmic event or time travel event, but I just didn't care too much. And I guess I find out-and-out crazy characters sometimes kind of annoying. So, like, I found the Howard Stark Immortus character a little annoying more than like sympathetic. I'm gonna keep with it because I've read the Ultimate line, not all of it, but most of it. I like Ultimate X-Men and I like Ultimates. I like Ultimate Spider-Man. Okay, I like it enough that I'm curious how it will all wrap up. But if you ask me, like, to put sort of a rating on this, like out of 3 thumbs potentially, I'd give this like maybe just 1.5 thumbs. 1.5 thumbs probably. It's maybe 2 thumbs on a good day, but it wasn't for me too much. I'm not going to give up on it, but it wasn't for me. It's hard to recommend. So this is a book that I got a tremendous kick out of in the news every month when there was something announced, like DC got to use, Homelander and Vampirella and Red Sonja and Annabelle and Sub-Zero and Scorpion and Sabrina the Teenage Witch. As they introduced each of these characters from, or Samantha Strong from Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, I was so amused at that idea. I'm like, this is bonkers. Samantha Strong, the murderous bear from Beneath the Trees, Annabelle, and Homelander or something like, and a character from Archie. This is crazy. It was so crazy that it really, really amused me on paper, and I just didn't care for this, folks. The art is fine. I'm not complaining about the art. Different artists for different segments, but basically, this is a victim of just being way too short for how big the premise is. Okay? So how much you will enjoy it depends on how amused you are at just seeing those characters on the same page? Like, does it amuse you to see Red Sonja and Wonder Woman on the same page for like maybe 3 pages? Maybe. There's little bits that I liked. I thought that Samantha Strong versus Lex Luthor was so crazy that I kind of liked that. You know, there's just 2 pages of them sort of going at each other. Why are they even going at each other? It's almost who cares. But basically, some superheroes that have a little bit of cosmic energy powers send some of the superheroes into parallel dimensions to level up their powers. Okay, if they beat them, they can get extra Omega energy to fight Darkseid. Fine, I don't care that much about that. That's enough of an explanation that I'll go with it. I'll go with it. And I've been enjoying DCKO, by the way, folks. I've been enjoying seeing them kill each other and have crazy contests that I didn't expect. But this is so disposable. Superman versus Homelander. I'm like, that sounds interesting. You might get 3 pages, I think, of this fight. Let me see. There's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. I don't... Sort of 4, not really. Big thing of all the different heroes fighting in an arena for like 1 spread. In other words, none of it has room to breathe. None of it has room to breathe. A lot of the stuff happens completely off panel. Like Joker versus Annabelle, next to nothing happens. Next to nothing. If you want to explain that certain characters have different power levels in different universes, fine. But I would say Wonder Woman should be able to beat Red Sonja pretty easily. Superman should be able to beat Homelander pretty easily. Like I say, these get about 3 to 4 pages, and then guess what? No definitive wins. No definitive wins. At a certain point, all the heroes are just pulled back, and they're told, you fought hard enough. You got the extra energy you needed. Moving forward. I wanted some definitive wins. I wanted to see Superman crush Homelander's head and just say, that was an alternate universe Homelander. I get why maybe a publisher wouldn't want their heroes to lose to these DC characters, but what's the point in setting all this up if you can't give any of them like definitive wins? You can't kill off like Sub-Zero and Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. They die like, you know, in 2 out of 3 versus levels of a game, right? It just doesn't add up to anything, unfortunately. On paper, it's so crazy that I love the idea. All these different publishers in just 1 issue. That's fun. And some of them have good setups. Some of them legit have interesting setups. And I'm amused by a few of the pages. But without giving it the room to breathe of having actual fights and having an actual definitive winner, I think it undercuts anything that it is. So, you know, I'd give this like half a thumb out of 3 thumbs. Half a thumb. And maybe some of that is on me, okay? I think if you watch the show regularly, you might have seen how amused I was about the news of like all these different characters showing up. Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Vampirella. I wouldn't have expected it. To me, that's very funny and amusing. There is usually a little bit of a delay. I'm sorry about that. A little piece of that is my wife does do online college classes, and she's taking a class while I'm doing this. So like the internet can only handle it so well. So I am sorry. There is a little bit of a delay. You read it too? I think that if this was 2 to 3 times the size that it is, it could have been a lot more entertaining and a lot more satisfying. Even if you had to come up with some sort of wiggle room for a bunch of the finales. Like you were like, okay, you know, my character is, I don't know, we'll say my character is Vampirella, and I don't want Vampirella to definitively lose to Batwoman. I go, okay, you know, we'll find something out. Maybe a DC character takes the loss, or maybe we find a way to have somebody cheat and ruin the match, but it's satisfying in a storytelling way. I'm just really surprised at how much I didn't like it, because I don't have anything against the writer, Jeremy Adams. I think he's written plenty of good stuff. I think that the setup is fine. I think a lot of the dialogue is entertaining, but it's fundamentally flawed by how much they're trying to do in such a short amount of space. And I guess if I keep going, all I'm doing is harping on problems. But I was quite disappointed. I was quite disappointed. Half a thumb. I'll switch over to Knightfight just because it's the other DC KO book I got. I won't talk as long about this. But the basic premise across 4 issues is Batman is in a fake reality in each one where one of his Robins has grown up and become Batman. And we're going to contrast how Dick Grayson versus Jason Todd versus Tim Drake versus Damian Wayne would be as an adult Batman, and what kind of a world they would craft. And now we're finally at one where his actual son, Damian, has created a very safe, harmonious Gotham, and he's got a grandson now, or I mean Batman does, because Damian has had a son. And he's created a world where Bruce would be very happy staying in it. So I like this issue the most out of the 4 issues. Oh, thank you, Rami. Maybe multiple one-shots would have helped. Probably would have helped sales too. Yeah, each of those matchups could have worked as one. It's fun. I think it's fun. You know, you get the whole Bat family by the end of this. You're getting, you know, Spoiler and Batwing and all these different characters. And I like it. It's kind of fun to see a grandfather age Bruce Wayne with like such a happy family, because they've sort of reached a level of success. I really liked this page that has like 1 million panels. Felt like a very manga-esque approach to highlighting sort of a training montage. I didn't quite understand why Batman still sort of needs to fight the Damian Wayne Batman, like what lesson he's learning from this. But it builds up to a pretty good fight. And it goes from this, just like, it's like, yeah, that was it. You know, you just got to see Bruce interact with each of his, you know, sons or adopted sons, etc. It's a what if, but a what if that sort of like mentally at least carries with Bruce. It's not necessary. I will say that if you're reading like DC KO or even the Batman titles, it's probably not strictly necessary. But was it enjoyable? Yeah, I would say that especially this 4th issue is pretty enjoyable. I think Dan Mora did a fine job on the artwork. I think he's an artist that can actually draw a kid that, yeah, this might be a little cartoony, but the kid looks like a kid, right? Bruce looks like an older man. There's plenty of artists out there, I will say, that can only sort of draw like a small man. They don't look like a kid. I would not disagree with this. This is probably the opposite of Boss Battle. Boss Battle should have probably been like 4 to 5 one-shots, and this should have probably just been one shot. Yeah, I know that they say that fighting him is the only way that he can get back to the tournament and help out. But I'm like, don't quite get that logic, but whatever. Oh my God. If you've ever read West Coast Avengers, I think it was changed to the title Avengers West Coast when John Byrne was both writing and drawing it. There's a scene where Scarlet Witch is checking on her babies in the bathtub, and it just looks like men that are dwarf size or smaller. It's crazy. I was like, he can't draw a kid. I'd give this one maybe like, I don't know, maybe 1.5 to 2 thumbs. I might give it 2 out of 3 thumbs. All right, let me talk about this. Batman 6 is by Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez. This was a blast. It wasn't perfect, but I had a lot of fun. In the last issue, this doctor that Bruce Wayne wants to support her work, she saw Damian Wayne as Robin come out and call Bruce Wayne father. I thought she was going to instantly put that together and assume that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Kind of hilariously, she does not. She just thinks that Robin is Bruce Wayne's son and that his kid works for Batman. And I go, oh, that's true. We are in a world where people just can't put together that, you know, Bruce Wayne is Batman or Clark Kent is Superman. Yeah, they probably would just assume, oh, your kid is Robin, but that doesn't mean that I assume you're Batman. I don't know why I assumed she would put all that together. She doesn't. And that kind of fits with everything we know about, you know, just superhero comics, right? I love the art. I think it, you know, even though we're doing like this grid, it is just a great structure for people having a conversation. If you went with all sorts of wild panels for this and lots of zoom ins and low angles and high angles and stuff, yeah, that varies up the art and that is interesting and engaging. However, it affects the pacing of how you read a scene. And this is a 3-page long conversation. So what's most important? Most important is probably the gesture and the facial reactions and the hands, stuff like that. So that's what Jorge is able to focus on by keeping the background static and the panel structure laid out the same. I like that. I thought that this is a good choice. It reads very, very well. There's a lot of things that I liked in this. I like that Bruce really gets upset with Damian for not being careful about like secret identity stuff. Like, you know, Damian's very like, hey, I know I messed up. And Bruce is like, no, you don't know how serious this is. And look, he like sort of hunches down to his level and like really gets in his face, gets in his personal space a little bit. And he's like, you need to be more careful because otherwise people will get in trouble and die. I was like, I really like the choices for like gesture and posing in this. I just love how it reads. There's some stuff that confused me a little, like this page showing like what seems to be a funeral procession. I just don't remember all the details from last issue enough to remember who some of these characters are. I mean, I know Penguin and I understand his thing, but I don't understand the priest or this old man. I just don't remember any of these characters. So this was a page that totally confused me. I don't mind saying that. I feel dumb, but I don't remember. Anyway, there's always got to be mostly, you know, like an action and a hook beyond all these little subplots. And in this, it's Dr. Hugo Strange and his monster men. So we do get some really fun action scenes. We get some good gadgets. This was just a blast. Batman having titanium core bat blades in his gauntlets. It's like a small upgrade from what we know, but it's fun. Yeah, I like this a lot, to be honest, folks. I like the twists and turns with the relationships. I don't know what's going on with this doctor. She's definitely in over her head doing some sort of medical science stuff. She seems like a good person, but I think she's like working with somebody that's probably pretty bad. I like the emotion of Tim Drake telling Bruce that he's retiring from Robin, at least for now. And it comes across as pretty organic and believable. I was like, wow. You know, the first couple of issues of Batman by Fraction and Jimenez really built up Tim Drake as an extremely capable, not just sidekick, but, you know, a partner for Batman. Made him really cool, fighting off a bunch of dangerous people while injured and helping Batman who had a concussion, like really built him up. And then to sort of yanked that out from under our feet by having him retire. I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. And not retired because he's killed off, some sort of melodramatic thing. I was like, he's in a relationship and he doesn't like lying to his partner, so he wants to retire. I was like, I can kind of believe that, actually. I can believe that. Anyway, I love that. I've said before that I love how when they establish a scene change in this book, they put a little narration box, and frequently we get an establishing shot of that section of the city, and it's making Gotham feel like a living, breathing, real city to me. I would give this at least 2.5 thumbs out of 3. This might even get 3 thumbs. This might get 3 thumbs. Pretty damn good. If you're not reading the current Batman, all I can say it is not mired in continuity. It has some great subplots, some great character work, some great action, and it's giving us kind of new stories, but it's classic Batman. It's working. It's working for me quite well. Well, I think that Damian is still Robin, just to be clear. But I think Tim was supposed to be sort of the main Robin. Yeah. Jokes. We got jokes. Good one. The last thing I picked up was kind of on a whim, but I was like, well, sometimes I like Archie, and I love Army of Darkness. But do I want them both together in a comic? I don't know. But then I saw, the goofy cover by Hack, which reminisces or homages the kind of classic Army of Darkness movie poster by, I forget his first name. His last name is Hussar. And I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. It's drawn by Bill Galvin, who, one of the artists that draws in what I'll call the classic Archie style. I wouldn't say he's my favorite Archie artist in this style. These days that would be Dan Parent for me, but it's very close, so it's not bad. And basically the Riverdale gang is checking out Reggie's new cabin that he inherited from some wealthy family member, and Archie stumbles across a basement that has an ancient book in it. Well, that's really all we need to get things up and running. And we get some quite violent chaos. Like a deadite shows up and pokes out one of the teenager's eyes. You're just like, oh, well, even main characters like Moose just get their heart ripped out. So they're not keep shying away from how violent a Evil Dead movie gets. Eventually, we also get introduced to Ash. Archie gets a job at S-Mart and works with Ash. All I can say, folks, kind of funny, actually. It does do a good blend of sort of typical Archie, hijinks and Army of Darkness, Evil Dead, crazy violence. There's enough sort of funny stuff in both series that the crossover works quite funny. Anyway, do boars get stabbed in the book? Referencing the latest Sam Raimi film. No, but I would give this at least 1.5, if not 2 thumbs. I think I'd give it 2 out of 3 thumbs. But if you're curious about my pick of the week, there's no question it was definitely Batman issue 6. That was my pick for the one that I enjoyed the most. Really no contest. And the one that I enjoyed the absolute least, unfortunately, was Boss Battle. Just disappointed that they didn't really do what I hoped that they would do with it. Maybe that's on me. I don't know. I think I will do a little inking and just sort of talk about other stuff in the world for a little bit. Sort of do my cool down here at this point and hear what's up with all of you. So I've been working my day job the last several days, including yesterday. So I didn't get to watch all of the Superb Owl show. I tried to duck out and watch as much of it as I could. But if I was going to miss a Super Bowl, this really wasn't that bad of a one to miss, folks. It was pretty low scoring, really good defenses on both sides, to be honest. And so not the most exciting that I've seen. And unfortunately, my home team, I'm from the Boston area. The Patriots did not win, but they didn't deserve to win. They just didn't put up enough offense. It's okay. I'm happy with how far they made it. Since you mentioned the original Spawn movie earlier, what are your thoughts on the new Jamie Foxx Spawn movie? My thoughts are, we've been told about this for over a decade, and it just feels harder and harder to believe that it will happen as time goes on. It just feels harder and harder. I agree. I did get to see the halftime show. It just like the timing was good. I had to do some paperwork stuff, and I was like, can I go do this out on the showroom floor? We had the game playing on a really big TV. So I was able to, it was quiet enough that I was able to watch it and do some work. And I got to watch the whole halftime show, and it was good. Yeah. Benito's a great performer. I thought it was, I couldn't understand every word. My Spanish has become pretty terrible. I still enjoyed the music. I enjoyed the choreography. I enjoyed like what it was saying. It was super positive and happy and cool. I think I figured out my next Halloween costume, Bad Bunny Grass Person number 173. That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. If Batman was in DCKO boss fight, who would be his opponent? Maybe someone off the wall like Gandalf or Kevin McAllister from Home Alone. Maybe it should be like Captain America again from Marvel Comics. Or what about maybe a Golden Age superhero that's in the public domain? Couldn't it be cool if like, or you know what would have been cool if Batman was in boss battle? Have him go up against like somebody that he's sort of a little derivative of, like the Shadow. That would have been cool. I think that would have been real cool. But yeah, some nice. They're both unbeatable with sufficient prep time. Dwight from The Office, yes. The Japan election, I thought that they just elected their prime minister a few months back. Did they have I don't know what the latest election in Japan was. I don't think. You know what I was surprised with, just related more to this show as well as the big game, is there weren't really any big trailers, were there, for like, you know, a new Marvel movie? There was like nothing, and I was a little disappointed. I was kind of hoping we might get a teaser or something for Avengers or Spider-Man by now. I was hoping. It's not the end of the world at all, but yeah, sort of hoping for something like that. Oh, well. Yeah, I guess I just thought that was something that would happen. Batman versus the Spirit. Yeah, something like that. Batman versus 7-Eleven, Dynamite Thor. Let me turn off my banner. I think that we know where everything's going at this point in the show. So do I have anything else about that to say? I guess not. I haven't really been out to the movies or watched any movies on streaming lately. So I haven't seen anything there that I can comment on much. I haven't even really had time to watch any TV shows this week. I've been just too busy. Trying to get, I've recorded, just to be clear, I've recorded the latest comic Tropes. And so I'm at the editing phase. And it's another one that I wrote a bigger script to than I sort of initially expected. So I'm trying my hardest to edit like at a good speed, but there's a lot of images that I need, including just like a few pages from like some classic manga. And I'm realizing I don't think I have the digital versions of them. I have only the hard copies, so it's going to take a really long time to scan that stuff. I need pages, a few pages from Akira, Death Note, Monster by Naoki Urasawa, and there's a fourth manga. Oh, Fist of the North Star. So if by any chance you have read those series and you have the digital versions, reach out to me, because I only need a couple pages from each of them, but it's going to take a long time for me to get those images otherwise, because I don't have digital versions of them. I only have the hard copies of all of them, so it takes a while when I have to scan that stuff. Bummer. Yeah, we should watch something. I mean, there's shows like that we've enjoyed, Chrissy, like Fallout, The Pit. Those are both on. I feel like there's a couple others that we'd enjoy. So I've just been too busy, and I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that I've been so busy. Kind of burned out, but yeah. I'm also excited, though, about the one that I'm doing right now, the issue, or the episode, I should say, of Comic Tropes. I am excited about what I'm making, and I think other people will enjoy it as well. But yeah. Oh, one other thing I could use is I am having a hard time finding a Image comic that came out maybe like October or so of last year. It's the David Brothers Nick Dragata book, Good Devils Don't Fight Fair. So if you have Good Devils and would be willing to like scan a few pages of that, that's another one that I could really use some help with, because I'm just right now having trouble finding my copy of it. Anyway, let me know if you do have something like that, because it would save some time for editing if I could just get some images. That's the toughest part, the part that slows the show down the most. I have people ask all the time if they could, like, help edit or get paid to edit. And I'm always like, here's the thing. The actual cuts and effects, it's like, I'd like somebody that could do better effects and would do the cuts, but it's not the time-consuming part. The time-consuming part is getting the images. And I always ask, like, would you know, like, looking at this script, would you know how to get these images? No, but if you could give them to me labeled, I could edit them in. I go, that would make it take longer, not shorter. Does it bother me if the pages are in Spanish? I could probably work with that and, like, go in Photoshop and sort of just erase the dialogue so that it isn't, like, distracting. I could probably work with that. The Pit is not an adaptation of the comic. I see some people also talking about Primal, and just to be clear, I have not seen that show. Have a lot of respect for Gendy Tartakovsky, but no, haven't seen that one. Sorry. Sorry, I'm getting quiet. I'm just thinking. What else is going on this week? Was there a Pit animated series? There was this era in the early ish or mid 90s where a lot of Image stuff was getting adapted, but most of it didn't last long because there was like a Saturday Morning Wildcats cartoon, I believe. There was a USA, I think USA Network's adaptation of Savage Dragon. That might have been 2 seasons. Not super loyal to the Eric Larson book. Of course, there was the pretty famous HBO adaptation of Spawn. That was fairly loyal and cool. There was the Max on MTV. That was pretty cool. There was a Pit one? I can't remember if there was or not. It's just not coming to me. I really don't remember. Yeah, I'm trying to remember and I just can't. That was the era. It was kind of exciting as a kid and teenager anyway to like see that stuff all get adapted. But it was also weird because it wasn't always what you'd read. It was different. Sorry, just having fun drawing. Wildcats is on Tubi. Oh, that's cool. Tubi has a lot of surprisingly good stuff. Oh, Jim and I were planning at the last minute. We realized that this Friday is a Friday the 13th. So we quickly tried to see if we could get everything together to record for you folks another trash movie bonanza about one of the Friday the 13th movies. And unfortunately, like, you know, it was so last minute that our editor, Jamie, was like, I'm sorry, guys, I cannot do it that fast. And we were like, yeah, no way. We should have thought about this earlier. So anyway, we don't have time to get one done this week, but we've got some ideas instead for like some other bonkers horror movies and then some superhero stuff that we both want to do. I think that'll be fun. We were thinking of maybe even doing one that compares all the different Punisher movies to see which we feel is the most accurate. I think that could be a lot of fun. So we've got ideas. Do it live. It would be awkward. We wouldn't be able to include the clips. That would be like the biggest tough part is like Jamie adds a lot to our show. We really couldn't do the show without what Jamie adds to it because neither of us have the time to, just sort of edit a movie review show. Jamie makes it all possible, and he makes us look good by cutting out our ums and ahs and awkward stuff like that. So yeah, he's a really key component of our team, and he works on a bunch of shows. Just to be clear, he does stuff for Ink Pulp, he does stuff for Mark Miller, he edits for several comic book channels, and so we can't hog all of his time, unfortunately. We're lucky that he prioritizes us as much as he does. Nice guy. I was about to say kid, but that feels like I'm talking down to him. I admire him. What's coming up that people are looking forward to for anything? anything. That's all it is me like just trying to have fun. Battle Beast issue 7. Hell yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'd score each Punisher on several different categories. We probably will. I think that we will do that one at some point. But we also just personally like really enjoy talking about schlock horror. Like it's just that was the genesis of creating Trash Movie Bonanza, is that just Jim and I both have a big enjoyment for what a lot of people would say is garbage, but we both just enjoy the hell out of. With this drawing, you can see why I am not the artist on Absolute Batman. But I still can have fun drawing. Did Peach see your visit to her mural? I'm pretty sure. I talked to Yo, and he liked seeing the picture. And I think that Dave posted a picture of both of us in front of Peach's mural and tagged her, so she probably saw it. Oh, yeah. The Greg Rucka, Danny Batwoman. Yep. Vampirella Winter special you're looking forward to. Street Shark #1. Yep. I think my friend Carrie is doing covers for that. I don't know if I'll pick up Bleeding Hearts or not. It interests me. We'll see. I'll think about it. Robert Kirkman's writing a lot of comics at the moment, at every moment. And I'm loving all of them. Looking forward to Battle Beast 7. Yeah, it'll be great to have that come back from its little hiatus. Him and Ryan are really pushing themselves, and I like that. There's a Friday the 13th in March? Oh, cool. I'm looking at the calendar real quick. Hey, there is. All right. I think Friday the 13th part 2 is back on the menu. It's back on the menu. All right. I hadn't thought that through, that if there's one in February, there would be one in March. That's just math. That's just minus a leap year or something. Yeah. All right. Now I'm kind of excited. We'll get to do another one. I think we both enjoy the idea of eventually checking them all off, but prioritizing them on Friday the 13th dates, and otherwise mixing in other, weird schlock that we want to read. Thanks for the heads up. I hadn't even thought that through. Oh, the Wallywood Artist Edition. Sure. Yeah, boy, one of the best of all time. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I make you cringe, sister? Folks, this is what you get by having a little sister. She'll support you and be embarrassed by you at the same time. I don't know. I don't know how I deal with it. I guess I'm just a pretty awesome person. I'm very excited about the comic Tropes that I'm doing. And I said earlier that I'm excited because I thought of one to talk about coloring, which I don't think I do enough of. I admit it. Yeah, so pretty excited about a couple ideas. And I'm doing a special episode, of course, for my patrons this month, like I do every month. And I've started realizing that what I should really focus on is doing episodes that otherwise would not be friendly to YouTube. And the first thing I did that was not YouTube friendly was last month talking about an erotic comic, Omaha the Cat Dancer. But what I'm going to do for this month, I'm going to talk about music. I'm going to talk about the Crow soundtrack. Has a fascinating history. I'm going to talk about how it connects to the comic in different ways. And I'll use clips of the songs and just not care about if it's copyright claimed because I'm not going to monetize it. I'm just going to release it as an exclusive to my supporters on Patreon. So I'm pretty excited to do that this month. Just has always been one of my favorite music soundtracks. I mean, well, they're all music soundtracks, Chris. What do I mean? I mean, favorite soundtracks of like original music. I think, you know, it is very much of its era, but boy, in that moment, it was so good and ahead of its time, or just perfectly on time. Just really, really good. Let's see. I shared your other coloring episode with a friend who found differences in his 2 different versions of Watchmen. Oh, very interesting. Nice. So anyway, I'm just saying that I'm putting more thought into how I can make my exclusives, you know, just more relevant and interesting to people. So putting a lot of thought into that stuff. And hopeful, because look, YouTube has changed a lot in the last couple of years. Dave, I don't know if he's still here, but Dave sent me a really interesting video about why views have gone down for everybody on YouTube. And, you know, you might look at the data and interpret it differently, but I definitely believe in what it's showing, which is when YouTube decided to start including shorts and competing with, like, you know, reels and shorts like that, what they did is they gave up a certain amount of real estate to them on every page. And even that subtle change isn't necessarily an algorithm thing where they're prioritizing stuff, but by literally giving less real estate to recommended videos, it means videos across the board are getting less views. No matter if you're a huge channel or a smaller channel. And the only good part I can say about that is that I do think that YouTube is in the business of making money. And I think that they do know that keeping creators happy is really important to their growth. You know, they're not producers really of their own content. They rely on everybody having a platform and being passionate about stuff and doing their own show. So they really need to make sure that creators are finding a way to be comfortable and make a living. And I think that they are aware that there's a problem, and that things have changed. I don't think that they're going to just be mindlessly promoting, what do you call it, shorts at the expense of everything else. Because that'll never be, like, they don't want to change their entire identity to nothing but shorts. So they need to find a way to adjust an algorithm to promote slightly longer form content in a better way. Exactly. They're not, like, do you want to try to compete head to head with TikTok doing the exact same thing? Or do you want to offer that, but more lean into what makes you different, which is the fact that you can have long form, widescreen content? I think that you need to lean into what you already do well and did first, and I would argue still do best. I haven't read Partisans by Ennis and Epting, although I did flip through it. I loved Epting's art, and I think it's produced by TKO Studios, and I do respect them. So I'd be curious. Anyway, sorry. That might not have been as interesting to everybody else because I live and breathe in a version of the YouTube ecosphere. It's definitely something that's high on my mind all the time, is, you know, like, how does it work? How can I work best within it? It's just something that I'm always thinking on some level. I think my wife, Chrissy, should really be on YouTube because, folks, probably not everyone out there knows, but she is an incredible artist. really beautiful painter, just absolutely incredible. And I think she would make such a fantastic show showing her process, reviewing tools, just doing like time lapses of her paintings, just gorgeous stuff. And I really think that there's a lot of, there's always an appetite for that stuff on YouTube, you know, just watching people work and learning from them and hearing sort of just blogs and reviews about that stuff. So I'm always trying to push Chrissy to try it. I'm like, not that I'm the expert, but I've had a good amount of time in the YouTube space, and I feel like I can help you like with some of the growing pains and like easy little bumps. She's good at marketing too, so she'd be good at like creating like a really consistent brand for herself. I just really hope someday she does decide to give it a shot. She's a heck of an artist, folks. Really good painter. She's had her paintings in a lot of nice galleries around the world, and doesn't always do it full time, but could. Oh, I hear a kitty. Maybe I watched enough Connor O'Malley vids. I don't know Connor O'Malley. They recommend me YouTube shorts about divorced dads with guns. Ew. I would not put it past YouTube executives deciding to pivot to shorts because all they know is disruption. I see that argument, but I think that they've made mistakes. Every company is going to, but I've also seen YouTube make corrections that benefit creators here and there. So I'm trying not to be too negative about it. I feel like there's potential to you know, turn into the spin and get out of this. We'll see. You know, maybe I've had my run and things are gonna wrap up soon, but I don't think so. Is this a bonkers, muscly enough version of Batman for me? About to drop an elbow on this ICE agent, and this specific one, you can't tell here, but he's separated some families and arrested some really good people that shouldn't have been arrested. He's treated people really badly. You can't tell, but trust me, I this particular agent is one of the worst. He barely even got through training. Isn't that awful? It's like, what are you thinking? Tomorrow will be one of those days where I basically just edit all day long and get lots of weird lower back pain. I'm going to pivot. I'm having fun with this exaggerated version, but I want to just noodle around on, you know, weird organic vines all over Vecna's body. I think this is not good timing. I should have had this finished, you know, like a month ago when people were really into Stranger Things. Maybe I could have sold it, but it still interests me to try to come up with an interesting design here. By the way, if anyone wants to buy any like of this original art that I noodle around with on the show, you know, I'm really just doing it as like for practice. But if anyone wants to make a solid offer on any of these, I would probably be willing to hear that out. Do I have any other good pieces right now? I guess not. Yeah, nothing else that interesting. This one I might finish sort of painting at some point, doing a sort of a cartoon style G.I. Joe. I might do like some. I was painting that. I mean, for some of these that I've spent several hours on, just to like respect my time, I probably don't want to sell it for less than like a piece like this. Like, I don't know, at least 150. You know what? I don't bother right now. I don't want to like create a bidding war situation because I don't want to monitor that and like have people say, well, I do this, I do that. I don't want to choose favorites right now. Tell you what I'll do instead is at some point I might like put a price on these and I'll just say like, hey, I've got a piece for sale later tonight. And maybe I'll have like a form that you could fill out so that if you wanted to bid, all you have to do is type claim and I'd already have some details for you. But these are all pieces I'd be willing to sell because I'm really just doing them for fun. But I also feel that I've spent a good amount of time on, so I feel like they're worth something. We'll see. We'll see. I'm also giving some strong thought to doing a claim sale and selling off like most of my comics. You know, Chrissy and I have had to pay for a lot of medical stuff this year, and so I'm trying to think of ways that I could like pay down that debt, that medical debt. I'm going to sell my truck because I don't have to have it. It's not like worth that much. It's an old one, but I think I'll sell that and maybe sell off a bunch of my comics that I just, you know, otherwise just have hanging around here. Oh, thank you so much for the kindness. Tatum Draws just wanted to say hi and great sketch. That's so nice of you. Dave, I've asked Dave about advice on selling stuff. Maybe I could sell like 1 or 2 pieces. I wouldn't want to take over his show. You know, I wouldn't want to do that to him. That wouldn't be fair. But I've asked him for advice and he has some. I bought like an old truck and was going to give it to my nephew, but he still hasn't gotten his driver's license. So I think I'm just going to sell it and, you know, use it to pay off some of our medical debt. Cause yeah, I bought it to, you know, help my nephew. And I'll just tell him like, hey, when you get your license, I'll start over and I'll find a way to get one again. But for now, I think I need to, you know, just get rid of stuff that I have and find any way I can, you know, sell blood or plasma or something. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe. So anyway, just thinking of stuff that I could sell. And I would say my comics, my original art, and my truck are all I can really think of right now. I don't really have a whole lot else. I mean, theoretically, I've got a Ninja Turtles collection of like Donatello action figures. I'd be willing to sell that. But that's trickier to sell because I kind of want to sell it as the whole collection, you know, and I don't know how you'd ever find the right person that needs that. That would take a long time, I would think. You know, when I sold my original comics collection like 14 some years ago, it was like 30 long boxes, and I think I sold it for $1,000 because I was moving and you know, some of these things sell very slow. And it kind of broke my heart to sell that many comics for so little, but it was all I could get. I'd do it again if it meant that I was like, you know, clearing debt. I go, yeah, it's worth it. You know, sometimes just having less stuff is nice. You're not getting what it's worth, but you know, whatever, you're getting something and you don't have to have stuff anymore. I kind of like that idea. We'll see. I'm just thinking of what I could sell. Art is no joke. It is pure talent, passion, and dedication. Great artwork. You're kind. You're kind. It's all right. I don't take compliments well, do I? Makes me nervous. You guys are great. I really enjoy talking comics with live chat every week. You guys have good jokes and good observations, and little bits of news or history that I don't always know myself. So it really does, I think, add to the show. Also appreciate all the comments that come in once the video is done and you're just watching it throughout the week on demand. That means an awful lot to me. I feel like it's some pretty good numbers of people that just, the schedule does not line up for them to watch it live, but a lot of people still watch it and get maybe their comic news or reviews that way. And it means a lot to me that you choose to do that with your time. So I think I'll wrap up now because let's see. Yeah, 7:30. I'm going to figure out what we're going to do for dinner and then get back to work editing comic Tropes because I really love to get that one out to you guys this weekend. That would be my personal goal, is to have the new episode out this weekend. I think I can do it. I think I can. Thank you all for the super chats and the kind comments. It means a lot to me. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to promote. No, I guess just that I'll have a comic Tropes up as soon as I can. There'll be an exclusive on Patreon this month about the Crow soundtrack, its relation to comics, and Jim and I will have to do a trash movie bonanza for next month's Friday the 13th. I just realized I don't know who won the Puppy Bowl. Oh, I don't either. I didn't even get to watch like the regular ones, so I don't know. Yeah, we all did. Thank you for the super chat, though. I appreciate that. Yes, peace and love. That's what I say at the end of every show. Peace and love. You guys are all fantastic. Take care of each other and keep reading comics. What am I doing? Like a single salute. What am I? Is it my first night doing a show? No. Double salute. All right, everybody. Take care. Bye.